George Washington, one of the greatest founders of this country, said, while referring to political parties, however, political parties may now and then answer popular ends. They are likely in the course of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. We're seeing that right now during this current election cycle in America, and it's kind of scary. It really is.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that.
What you're going to have to do, if you really want to grow the middle class, is say that everybody in this country, regardless of their income, if they have the ability, they're going to get a college education. And today I just introduced legislation that would make public colleges and universities tuition free.
Now, I know many friends I have on the left would respond to this quote by saying, and this is just one of the worst answers you could possibly give as a non-argument because there's no logic or reasoning behind it. But they say, George Washington was just an old white man that supported slavery. Jeez. Intellectual ability knows not skin color or gender. Okay? That's making that your response to anything involving the founders of our country is just a totally absurd non sequitur. It makes no sense. If you automatically think people with opinions different than yours are automatically racist or sexist, you are probably the one that is racist or sexist. And you're probably projecting your insecurities and your beliefs about the world onto them. I could speak for myself and nobody else when I say I'm definitely not a racist or a sexist, okay? People are people, regardless of skin color or gender. Now, the other part of that argument, or non-argument, I should say, is that the men back then supported slavery. Well, yeah, they did. It was not cool, it was terrible. But it was hundreds of years ago, and that's just what people did. Slavery was a thing, and it still is a thing in a lot of parts of the world, I should say. Good, intelligent people can be found in all walks of life. And if you disagree with that, you're just ignorant, and you're willfully ignorant, you're forcefully ignorant, you're trying to be ignorant. Now, back to the main topic of conversation in this video. Political parties. The current election cycle has revealed to me and many other Americans a very ugly side of the people in this country.
Stop talking to us like children!
Political parties have so divided the country that many people on both ends absolutely refuse to even have a rational dialogue with the opposing side.
cisgender straight woman, because you obviously
that's really true.
and that you probably haven't ever been raped either.
I actually identify as an
like-
attack helicopter, so it's really
to me,
offensive.
You sound like you're speaking from a very privileged point of view here.
Very privileged.
Yes.
Sorry guys, there's only two genders, female and male. This is extremely controversial to say. Science and facts, extremely controversial. Jesus.
And that is opposing views coming together and working out their differences is what our country is based off of. Freedom of speech and freedom to discuss your ideas with other people without having to worry about negative ramifications and consequences up to and including violence. And a lot of videos are surfacing on the internet of people becoming violent over political ideas without ever having any real justified reasons to become violent.
Targeted with pepper spray. Police say anti-Trump protesters sprayed 5 Trump supporters, including an 8 and 11-year-old girl outside Anaheim City Hall.
Back with some quotes, okay? You don't know. Whoa. Hey, this dude just. Hey, this dude just.
I'm a tranny. Every single Trump supporter has a full legal name attached to a social security number with a place of residence, an employer, and classes. That information is easy to find online.
Now, the internet has made this so much more obvious and so much easier to find this hatred and just total ridiculous spitting in the face of logic. Groups like the Tea Party, Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street, Third Wave Feminists, and numerous other groups are just so entrenched in their own dogma and rhetoric that they would rather defend it through violence and censorship and shutting people down than actually having a conversation about what they believe.
An Iraq War veteran is recovering after he was attacked and robbed at a McDonald's by a group of teenagers here in Washington, D.C. Police have released surveillance footage of the attack Friday night at the restaurant in downtown Washington in hopes that it will lead to the suspects. Sergeant Chris Marquez, a Marine who fought in Fallujah, says the group of teenagers started taunting him while he ate his meal, asking him if he believed Black Lives Matter. Marquez says when he didn't respond, they followed him outside where they knocked him unconscious and robbed him.
I found it very ironic because the person calling me the racist was the actual racist, and they have no idea about my background, what I did for this country, or what other people like myself, every day we do for this country.
Marquez suffered head and neck injuries in the attack. The story has received very little national attention, except on this channel.
We're gonna get rolling here. Hey, what's your name? Yeah.
Hey, Allegra.
Allegra?
Yeah.
Is that a medication?
I'm from Texas.
You're from Texas?
Yeah.
No shit.
Fort Worth.
Well, that sounds like a Fort Worth accent you got there. So, yeah, can I confess something to you? When you were coming down the stairs, I was kind of checking you out a little bit. First I saw, I was like, damn, she's got some legs. And then you came the rest of the way down, I was like, damn, you got some arms and a torso. It's like, she's got everything a human needs. I was thinking like, damn, if that girl had some old bananas, I'd be like, don't throw out them bananas, girl. I'll get some eggs and some milk and make some banana bread. Maybe we'll have some tea and eat that banana bread. You got a cat or a pet or anything?
I have a cat, yeah.
We can talk about your cat. We can talk about my plans for the garden, you know what I mean? Like we go to B&Q, I was going to get some hostas and line the fence with it and shit like that. How about you put some cream cheese on that banana bread? That's how I feel about you.
glass shattered and anarchists sprang out of the crowd and launched this full-on assault. American Apparel, Nike Town, and a few banks all got hit.
We just locked all the doors. I noticed that the glass was all buckling out front here.
No one was hurt, but plenty thought they would be.
I saw them coming down, so I was afraid for my life.
Police on bikes coasted in. The anarchists ran. There were reports that they changed clothes to blend back in with the protesters.
Our street! Our street! Our street! Our street!
The marching continued all through the afternoon, through downtown, disrupting traffic, but it was calmer until just after 4:30 near the Pike Place Market, when police took some of the Occupy flags.
All they had to do was ask. They did not ask. I'm homeless and I understand the word please.
Then it got even more tense.
Let him go! Let him go! Why?
Crowds were pushing and swaying. More violence threatened to erupt.
And this is terrible. This is so stupid. It's unbelievable how dangerous this kind of thought is. Groupthink is extremely dangerous, and it's getting to be more and more prevalent in modern America. And I don't think the thinking people out there really like it and really like where it's headed and what it may mean for the future of our country. It's pretty scary. These people suppress ideas that they don't agree with. They censor ideas they don't agree with in the name of free speech. But they usually refuse to acknowledge the fact that free speech is a two-way street. You have to be able to express your ideas and let people with ideas that you disagree with express their ideas. It's not freedom of speech to show up at somebody's rally with bullhorns and fake blood and all kinds of other obnoxious distractions and try to silence the people with your nonsense. That is not free speech. That is just stupid. It is totally ridiculous. I mean, let's use this as an example. I'm a big metal fan. If you show up to a Slayer concert and the whole time you're talking shit, and as the people are leaving the concert, you're talking shit about the bands and the whole time you're in the concert you're trying to be louder than the music and shut it down, do you think the people at that event are going to be happy with you? No. They had the right to peaceably assemble. You show up being loud and obnoxious, not having any logical arguments against what's actually going on. And yeah, my laptop just beeped at me. And expect people to just deal with it and be like, oh, that's okay that you showed up to our event and wanted to shut it down. No, that's not okay. Silencing opposition is not okay. And another point I want to make about that is I have the right to offend you. And if you want to get all up in your feelings about it, then you really don't need to talk to me. Because I'm going to tell you what I think, regardless of how it may affect your feelings. And if it hurts your feelings, well then, you might want to get off the internet and get off my YouTube channel and maybe go find yourself a safe space. Because the internet should definitely not be a safe space. The internet is where bad ideas go to die. And silencing your opposition is a bad idea. This brings me to my next quote. If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. Without freedom of speech, there is no Western society. It is the very basis of our modern world, and without it, I don't want to know what it would be like without freedom of speech. It'd be scary. But freedom of speech, like many of our other rights, is being slowly chipped away at. And as our freedom is slowly eroded, the divide amongst us grows. Now, some of the earlier groups I mentioned have ideas that have created this label of identitarian politics. These people favor ideological homogeny over intellectual diversity and will turn on each other at the drop of a hat if their ideologue ways are challenged. They absolutely despise intellectual diversity. Many of these people spew vitriol and rabid hatred towards those they disagree with, while claiming to be peaceful, loving people. And the vast majority of these people just follow rhetoric and dogma that is just based off lies. There's no gender wage gap. It's a myth. All life does matter. Building a wall to keep out illegal immigrants is not racist. And mansplaining is a sexist pejorative used to gender shame men into silence. But guess what? It's failing more and more. You're pushing your ideas on people is only making us more vocal and tired of your bullshit. Guess what, assholes? You can't silence me, and you can't silence all the other thousands of people throughout the world that feel the same way. The internet is a wonderful tool to kill bad ideas, and we are working on it hard. We are working on it very hard to kill some of these bad ideas, and it's going to happen, believe me. If you say a white/black man or woman is automatically racist or sexist because of their color of their skin or their gender, you are the racist. You are the sexist. You are the bigot. And bigotry is not okay in any of its various forms. And it has taken some wild forms in the last 10 years. Now, while this divide amongst right and left and identitarian movements and political parties is very disconcerting and scary, the way that the people on both extreme ends want their ideas to be enforced is even more troublesome. When you push the government, the federal government, to use its monopoly on force to turn your ideas into laws and use them to force those laws on other people, you are committing coercion against your fellow man through the barrel of a gun. That's not okay. That is never okay. Alright? All these movements that follow this groupthink and these identitarian politics, they're usually social Marxists, and at the core of how they want to get things done, they're willing to force people to do stuff by violence, by the barrel of a gun. And always have been. That's been shown throughout history. And it's just ridiculous. It's not okay. Forcing people to do things under threat of violence is not okay. I don't understand how these people can't get that. It's not that hard of a concept to grasp. It's a basic principle of being a decent human being. Don't force people to do stuff they don't want to do through violence. It's simple. It's so simple. Like I said earlier, where these extreme ideas that people want to force on others through violence usually lead is people wanting other people, fellow citizens, fellow countrymen, fellow human beings, to do what they want, conform to their standards, or be killed. That's where it leads. You can look through history and find countless examples of it. It's not okay. It's never been okay and never should be okay. As a person in a free society, you should abhor coercion through violence, especially violence at the hands of the government. Governments have killed more people in the last 200 years than the rest of recorded history, but yet all these people still want to put their faith in the government and think, oh, the government, they're not going to do anything wrong. They'll make stuff better. All the government does properly, all the federal government does properly, is waste Americans' money. And it's the same way in most other Western democracies. It varies from place to place. But wasteful spending is part of federal government. It is one of the biggest problems in this country. We have bureaucracies to manage bureaucracies, and it's totally ridiculous. Like I said earlier, truly freedom-minded individuals value free speech above all else and find coercion through violence to be deplorable. If we want a brighter future in this country and this world, we have to come together and openly discuss our ideas with one another. You can't just call somebody racist or sexist or bigot because you disagree with their idea. Because usually it's not because they're racist or sexist unless it's blatant racism. If I say, oh, I hate a black man because he's black, oh, guess what? That makes me racist. If a black guy says it, it's the same thing. If I say I hate women because they're women, it's sexist. If I say I hate men because they're men, it's sexist. You can't redefine these terms and just abuse them for your own gain. You can't change the language to make it work for you. You have to work within the constructs of what's already predefined in the language. And if you can't use those definitions properly and those words properly, then you need to go back to your basic education mode and relearn what these things actually mean. Now, I would like to leave you with this. If we want a better future for future generations and for us, because we've still got my generation still has a lot of time left on this planet, we have to come together and discuss our ideas, even if they don't agree with each other. People do it all the time, but for some reason people would just rather act like animals and divide and spew hatred and vitriol towards each other, and that really doesn't do anything. That does not promote change. That does not help anybody. It causes more problems than anything. I don't understand why people can't see that. It's totally ridiculous. All the shit you see on the internet these days, the violence at all the political rallies, all of them, not just Trump rallies, not just Bernie rallies, not just Hillary rallies, all of them. The major political rallies during this election cycle have revealed some very ugly people and violent people in this country, and they really just, they're not representative of everyone by any means, but they're definitely a major problem. So I leave you with this final Washington quote. Let us therefore animate and encourage each other and show the whole world that a free man contending for liberty on his own ground is superior to any slavish mercenary on earth. Are you going to be the free man? Or are you going to be part of the mob operating underneath the mercenaries? It's your choice. Let's make a better future for this world.